Well, good morning, everyone. Made myself some breakfast, made myself some tea, and now I'm just relaxing a little bit in my 4Runner, killing some time. When I was hiking out of the canyon yesterday, there was a really cool scene that I found with this cottonwood tree. It had multiple trunks, and those trunks were just really beautiful light tones set against a background of a wall of sandstone. And there was an assortment of all sorts of trees around it. And it was absolutely beautiful in this really vivid glow. And I figured a composition with a normal lens, as well as perhaps one with a long lens, would do really well for that scene. But the moment I brought my camera out, there were these clouds that started to appear in the sky. And they started to grow. And what happens is, when you have this beautiful reflected light, as soon as even a small cloud shows up, it really kills that light. And as the more clouds started showing up, it went really flat and really dull. And so at least I know where that scene is. I know what sort of light it needs. And this morning, the skies are completely blue. I think it was around 2 o'clock or so yesterday when those clouds started to show up. But I think this scene will have a rather large window of opportunity to photograph it. So just so long as the wind stays calm and so long as the skies stay relatively blue, I think I'll hopefully be able to expose a few sheets of film on that scene. So I'm just going to wait on that shot, and meanwhile I'm going to relax a little bit because yesterday involved quite a bit of hiking. Probably read a book or so and get things organized before heading into the canyon and seeing if I can find a composition on the scene. But definitely looking forward to the possibility of photographing it because it was definitely very beautiful. But now, it's time to relax. Well, I have arrived at my potential shooting location for the morning. Right now the conditions are great. Blue skies, calm wind, and I set up my Chamonix 8x10, which is my lightweight camera. I just felt like going a little light today after hauling around the Arc of Swiss yesterday. But I've got it set up with a moderate long lens at that stand of cottonwoods right over there. And I just love the form of them, the shape of them, the light colored trunks against the darker background. And I'm just waiting for the reflected light to build. And the light is coming from right up over there, the big, huge cliff face, which is going to reflect warm light in the scene. And that light is going to continue to build as the morning progresses. And this is a really long glow, so just so long as the clouds stay away and the wind stays calm, I think it might make for a pretty cool photo. Well, I went ahead and exposed a couple sheets of Provia with a 450 millimeter lens. And then I also had a composition with my normal lens, my 300. So I exposed 2 sheets with that as well. And I kept the camera exactly where it is for both of them. So it'll be interesting to compare the compositions. They're both horizontal compositions. But the glow has developed quite nicely here. You'll see behind me here the trees there lit up quite nicely. And they're going to stay like that for quite a while. But as the afternoon progresses, there'll likely be some wind that shows up and maybe some clouds, but wind is certainly a bit more common in the afternoons. But it feels very good to expose some film, and I think it's time to get things packed up. And I have a couple photos in mind for the late afternoon in a different part of the park. There was some cracked mud that was interesting, which Should see some interesting light toward kind of the, I don't know, like 3 o'clock or so. And then there's also an area with some pools of water with a little bit of oil, some floating leaves that would be pretty decent. Also toward the mid to late afternoon. But feels great to expose some film and get things packed up, head back to my truck, and get myself some lunch. So, from that perspective, this looks like a mucky, nasty puddle. But from this perspective, there's actually a pretty cool reflection of blue sky, and there's also a maple tree overhead that has some direct sunlight on it, so you get some greens and some oranges and yellows. And all these oak leaves and a few maple leaves floating in the surface. And since there is some sort of scummy stuff in the water, it diffuses the reflection. So it's a bit of a softer reflection off in the background with the leaves on the surface playing with the surface tension. There's a little bit of natural oils in the water, which gives it this sort of appearance. But that was 15 seconds, f45, and this is a incredibly precarious setup for the camera here. And so I didn't really film any video of me getting the camera set up just because I'm trying not to either drop things in the water or me fall in the water or knock other things into the water to disturb the surface. But I think I'm only going to do one sheet of film on this one just because nothing's really moving and I feel pretty good about the exposure. There's another shot around the corner with some cracked mud. I'm going to see if the light's pretty decent on that, because this is about the time when it should have some decent light. And so, but feels pretty good to expose some film on another subject today, albeit a little bit more tricky than the one this morning. But it's such a calm day in Zion, very little wind, blue skies, and in the coming days there's supposed to be some changes and some clouds and such. Good to expose some film. So after exposing the sheet of film on the nice little cesspool, I went over to the area where the mud cracks are. And yesterday I was looking at the PhotoPills app and saw that the sun would poke through a little part of the canyon and bounce some light around in that part of the canyon. And it did, but I was just a little later than I should have been. And as a result, there was some direct sunlight just out of view of the mud I was trying to photograph. And by the way, I'm walking into some reflected light right now, in case you're wondering why I have this golden glow on me. But it's that sort of light that I was looking to photograph the mud in. And so I figure that's one for maybe tomorrow. But nearby, probably about 10 feet away, I found this really cool oak leaf that was sitting on some dried mud, and it had a very interesting pattern to it, and also there were some like these little cracks in it. So I exposed 2 sheets of Provia on that, one with and without the warming filter. So it was a pretty last minute shot, and I was pretty rushed to set it up. but pretty cool to end the day on photographing 3 scenes, but 2 different variations on one of them. So pretty awesome way to end a day in Zion. Tomorrow, there's supposed to be some clouds, so we'll see how that works out. But that just gives an opportunity to scout around quite a bit. But now, it's time to head back to camp, grab some dinner, and let some film. Of the 3 subjects I photographed that day, one in particular resulted in my favorite photo from this trip, though it wasn't my morning photo of the cottonwood trees in the canyon. Although there was indeed a glow that morning, the light wasn't as strong as I had seen the day before. I'll need to revisit this location during the afternoon and hope the wind remains calm. I'm quite satisfied with the photo of the floating leaves, especially considering how this pool of water looked from every other angle. I'm thankful the wind was calm and the leaves are motionless for the duration of the exposure. It was my final photo that was the biggest surprise, and it was unlike anything I've seen before in Zion. A lone oak leaf among dried mud ripples in the shade of a slot canyon. The placement of the leaf is exactly as I found it, and I love the contrast of both color and texture. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you around next time. If you enjoy this ad-free and clickbait-free content and want to help me live my dream, a voluntary contribution of just $24 a year helps keep my gas tank full and my film freezer stocked. For more information on how to support me and my work, please visit the donation section of my website at benhorne.com/donate. I also have prints and my portfolio box set available on my website. You can find a direct link down below in the show notes. Thanks in advance for your support.